Alabama plants from this Alabama dude. I told y'all the other day that I had Daniel go by a nursery I had stopped at briefly when we passed through North Alabama. I was by his work when we went to see him. They weren't open when I was there, so I saw the plants, but I couldn't purchase any of them. So he went back with me on FaceTime and is bringing me a plant haul. All right, let's take a look at my plant haul. I've got a Mountain Pride tomato, Boxcar Willie, and Juliet. 2 tomatillos, because I actually didn't start any of those. A catnip for old KG. A poblano pepper, and this Valencia orange bell pepper. Eggplant, fairy tale eggplant. That's actually a hybrid, but it's one I really like, as well as Whopper eggplant. A 6-pack of serrano peppers, because this is one I forgot to start that I like. And some Clemson spineless okra. Thanks for bringing me plants, dude.
You're welcome.
All right, let's go plant these.
Let's do it.
Hi! All right, here she is. Now we're ready. Our crew is almost together. We gotta go get Miah, and then we're ready to go. Baker Creek. Day 1, we're headed down to the festival from our tents. Got the Vincents here, there's Dan, there's Natalie. Everybody's got their cameras out. If I had the ability to like do cool special effects, this is where I would like show a picture of us walking in slow motion with our game faces on. Yeah, they look wonderful.
You can't pronounce what's in the ingredients, don't eat it.
Right. No, nothing in a box.
That's the 2 simplest things you can do, right? Go home and anything that you can't pronounce on a box, don't eat it, and get the TV out of your room, and then take it from there.
And your cell phone from your bed.
Yeah.
And stand in the wet grass.
Okay, so we just met a couple that we want to introduce to you guys. This is Jessica and Jeremiah.
Hi guys.
It's like a time warp or something.
Yeah. So let's just get this all in one frame here.
So
2
Jess and
Jessicas,
Miah.
2 Jeremiahs.
Jess and Miah.
Yeah. Have you ever been called Miah in your life? Is that
I actually have nieces and nephews that call me Uncle Miah.
Well, we've already called him Sweet Miah, so you're gonna have to be like Lovely Miah, Beautiful Miah.
Yeah, very good.
Will you tell our friends on YouTube about your channel?
Yeah, so we are a family of 9. We moved to the country 2 years ago. We've always wanted to be in the country, and we just started basically building our farm and our homestead from scratch. I mean, we're on grid, so we bought a house, we bought acreage, and
The animals, everything.
Infrastructure, all is just, we're just starting from scratch.
And you're here in Missouri.
We're here in Missouri. We're about 40 miles east of Kansas City.
And your farm name?
Arrow Ridge.
Arrow Ridge.
Arrow Ridge.
Yep. Cool.
Awesome. Well, y'all go check them out.
All right. Thank you.
Today has been so crazy. I have no idea how much of this I'm going to be able to show y'all, because I have talked to people the whole time and done very little video, but we're about to go into the seed store with some really cool friends of ours. Jake from White House on the Hill, and here's Becky.
What are we gonna do, Jess?
Alright, we're about to go
Into the seed store.
Into the seed store. Gonna do some seed shopping.
Yep. You're gonna show us how it's done.
Oh gosh, I don't know about that.
I don't know how to buy seeds, so you gotta go to the gardener.
Let's go take a look in the seed store. Did a little seed shopping with Jake and Becky, which you will be able to see on their channel. That was pretty awesome. Now we're back up at the campgrounds. I'm gonna say goodbye to some of our friends. Take a look at Farm Alarm Schoolie. What are you doing? What is this?
You shall not pass!
Look at these beautiful people. Meg Holler, who entertained like a goddess out here last night outside of her camper. She's got camper life down. So here's everybody. You silly boy. What's up, dude? Oh, yeah. Boys. We were camping here next to Farm Alarm, and they are here in their schoolie, and they're like, hey, can we take a look at this? Because we have talked about wanting to do something like this before, really for the purpose of events like this. Be able to bring our family and camp. And of course, Maya's handy, so I feel pretty confident that we could do something like this. Oh, this is cool. What do you think, Ben?
It's not a school bus anymore, is it?
This is awesome. So y'all want to tell us a little bit about it? I guess we'll let Tracy get up here.
This is the bus.
Yeah. So when we bought it, it was used to haul a race car.
Oh, cool.
And so it was already gutted. So there was no seats in it, nothing. So it was bare bones. And we did all the work ourselves. We ran the electrical, we did all the water. The cabinets are repurposed.
Cool.
We pulled them out of our old place and put them in here. What else you got?
I got something special for you.
This is really neat. Got beds back here.
Alright, let's see how it's going
Oh, and
down.
a bathroom. Oh yeah, that's really cool. This is neat.
So Ashley was saying that the cabinets are repurposed, and what we did was we took and we painted them white, then we painted them blue, and we put a gel stain over that, wiped all that off, and we had sanded it down in places, and then we put a clear polyurethane over that, and just kind of made it look really old and distressed.
Yeah, I love them.
And you know, that's kind of the thing nowadays is it doesn't have to be glamorous, but you know, this old look.
Yeah.
You notice we've got the door here on the side and the back, and not the front like a standard bus. And I did that. I took that stairwell and that front door out of there just because I wanted to have a co-pilot, you know, or have my wife or son, whoever it was, beside me as we're going down the road. And you know, we put the stairwell in back here, and I really enjoy having the two seats up front.
I like that a lot. So we just checked out the bus, and I want you guys to tell. Let me let Sweet Miah in the picture. Come on. I want you guys to just introduce yourselves and tell my viewers a little bit about your channel, because I think y'all are doing a really cool thing.
Yeah, so we live central Missouri. We're on 3 acres. We rent another 3 acres from our neighbor to run our sheep on, and we live in this school bus that you guys just seen. We have chickens, some rare breed chickens. We have a 20 by 20 greenhouse built from a carport, and
Blackberries, right?
Blackberries, yeah, 400 foot of thornless blackberries, which is way too much to keep up with.
And they're turning that into like a U-pick thing, which is really, really awesome.
That'd be fun,
So
yeah.
I think you guys
It's a
will
lot of
really like
cobbler.
them. It's a lot of
It is.
If I could learn how to make cobbler, we'd be set. But
Oh,
I just have
dang.
to-
Oh, well, hey guys,
to
send
send you-
everyone,
I'll
send them all, hey guys, go to Farm Alarm, subscribe, and send them all your cobbler recipes.
There we
They got
go.
400 feet of blackberries, that's a lot.
That's a lot of cobbler.
I could send everybody.
Yeah, it was really awesome getting to camp next to you guys and getting to know you.
It's
And
been a lot of fun.
yeah, thank y'all. So the festival is over. We've said goodbye to most of our friends, and now something that I am very, very excited about. I've got Daniel here with me, who is my #1 garden buddy. We've got Natalie here, and I've got Ben, and I'm gonna get to show them Baker Creek's greenhouses. One of my favorite places to be in the whole world. Look, Ben, check it out. Ben loves the greenhouse. I did have to tell him not to eat like a dinosaur in these greenhouses. That would probably be frowned upon. Hey Ben, these are squash over here. Look how pretty. Jessica wants you to try something. Come on. Look at the flowers.
That one, do you want to eat it?
It tastes good.
Eat it?
Yeah, it's an edible flower.
Yeah, you can eat it. It's okay.
It's like how you eat greens. Cool, huh?
What do you think? Salad. So they're pretty salad.
That is cool.
You can eat it. Yeah, what do you think of it? Is that yummy? That's pretty yummy.
He's like,
Yeah, that's good. We're gonna have to eat some of those at home, huh? Pansy eating time. Okay, you ready? Oh.
That's delicious.
It really tastes like a flower.
Yeah, it
smells.
But it's good.
It's good. Yeah, check that out. I think these mango beets are like nearly sentient. Gosh, things have grown so much since the last time I was here. Like, so much. Oh, that's nothing. Come here. I gotta show you this. Come here. Come here. Oh, look! Romanesco broccoli. Mommy, come here. Okay, okay, come here. Let's see it. Oh, we're running. Oh my God.
From this side where he bites it.
Is a dinosaur gonna bite the giant cabbage? Look at that. Look at the grin. Look at me, dinosaur. Look. Nasturtium.
Rabbit?
I've got this. Look at the little mini tomatoes. Yeah, these are those.
They're babies.
They're babies.
You can try one.
You can try one, Ben. What do you think? Tell me what you think. Looks like it got a little DE on it. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's cool. They touches the ground. Cool. These peppers were just barely growing the last time I was here, and they've already gotten so much bigger. I'm gonna end up having to grow these in my garden next year, just because I saw this is a grow out of these, and it's a sweet pepper, which I'm about that. Ben just makes himself at home everywhere he goes. I found your favorite thing. Gotta take a seat and eat your favorite thing.
I don't know.
Do you need help?
Yeah.
Bite like a dinosaur.
I like it. I like to eat the pod and all.
Eat the whole thing.
It's really good that way.
There you go. Oh, look at that.
What?
I don't really know. Some sort of citrus. So the last time I was at Baker Creek, they had 3,000 little pak choys and bok choys in the other greenhouse. You may remember that. And they were actually getting ready to put them in the ground here. Jess said they've already harvested a lot of these and been using them in the kitchen a lot for the restaurant that's here. Isn't this awesome? I'm actually gonna pick a couple of heads of this just so that I could take some with me. I don't have anything to cut it. This is bok choy. Our car is so stinking packed, but Jess said I could have some bok choys. Bok choy, I said, okay. Okay. Bok choy. We'll make room for choy. Whoa, Benny. I just almost got nailed in the face with Ben's poking stick. Look at the squashes.
What is that?
Squash.
Squash?
Now, whenever you have a greenhouse like this, you have to hand pollinate. So now they leave their doors open, so they may have enough pollinators coming here, but I bet they do have to do hand pollination. The grow lights here make this like glow purple in the night. When we pulled up on it, it looked slightly alien whenever we first got here the other night. Oh, this is neat. So this is trifoliate oranges that they started from seeds.
Wow.
I have a couple of those plants in my greenhouse that Jared gave me. They're bigger though. They're like closer to this size. So is this like round 2 of the choys, the baby bok choy? So this is what we just picked in the other greenhouse. And I'm really interested to see that they've got this started in a greenhouse. I know they're cooler, but man, mine sprouted so fast. I wonder if I couldn't maybe try again and grow it. Look at all of the little mini tomatoes. Yeah, these are onions. Mm-hmm. Those are bunching onions. I really like this hibiscus. That's neat. Scarlet's chili. That is really pretty, really dark. Sugar Rush. I've got these growing at home. Oh, this is pretty. It's variegated. Oh, that's a sticky trap, not a tag. Where's the tag? Okay, here we go. Jigsaw hot pepper. This is a grow out. So being a grow out, this isn't available yet, but look at that. You know, I love a variegated leaf. Do y'all ever just look at things like this and just feel a little awe at the beauty of them? Oh, little baby coleuses.
Oh, babies.
Little babies. They're so cute, huh, Ben?
These are kids.
Those are kids? That's cool. What are these?
Babies and kids.
Babies and kids. So what are these over here?
Adults. This
Maybe teenagers like Jackson?
Yeah, and this is the sun.
That's the sun?
Smell it. What is this?
Basil?
Very good. I just heard a familiar voice in this greenhouse. I know that voice.
majestic nails that went up when I was in here the other night. It's just like, it looks fake here.
I know, the massive cabbage. I saw this cabbage last time I was here. And
oh, really?
Yeah. It's
How big was it when you saw it?
It was still pretty big, but nowhere near this big. So here's Mike,
Hello.
the fit farmer. I heard your voice. I was like, I know who that is.
I've been to the gym in
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
He's just that farm fit.
Yep.
Mike and Lacey are some of our YouTube friends that we got to hang out with this weekend here at Baker Creek. So he's going around, it looks like, shooting a video in the greenhouses before he leaves as well. Wow, these plants look kind of just slightly otherworldly underneath the grow lights. What is that? I need to find the sign. Oh wow, this crazy beautiful variegated plant is fish pepper. I didn't know it was this pretty. I knew it was variegated, but that is exceptional. What do you think?
It's been a good weekend.
It's been a really good weekend-ish. I know, Sunday, Monday. It's been a really good time.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Wonderful event. Has me really looking forward to the expo, which we will be attending and speaking at. Thank you guys for hanging out with us this weekend. We bless you. Until next time.
Hey guys. That's pretty weak. Hey guys. So I'm Sweet Miah. It's growing on me. This is my wonderful and amazing wife Jess, and we have a 4.5 acre farm in central Arkansas, and 6 kids. I forget sometimes how many kids we have. Once you get past 4, it's like whatever. I have 7, 8, 9, 10. But we're just gonna come here and Jessica's gonna speak to you about the joys of gardening and heirlooms and all the things that give her all those smile wrinkles around her eyes. So take it away, love.
Thank you, baby.
Oh, goodness. I actually have a little bit of nerves in public speaking, and people are like, you talk to lots of people all the time. I'm like, no, I talk to a camera. It's very different. I'll tell you that by the end of these events, I'm usually just a puddle. And so if I've cried or snotted on you so far, I'm really sorry. Whenever the number climbs and gets bigger and bigger, it's like, cool, we're doing a good job when it's a number on the screen. But when we come to things like this and it's real people and stories and tears and testimonies and photos of beautiful gardens, it's very different. It's very different. That's not just a number on a screen. And I think the reality of what we're doing feels real. It feels more real here than it ever does whenever we're talking to the camera at home. So thank you so much, everyone who has come out and who has shared. Please do come talk to us. We want to talk to you. You're not bothering us. It's what we came here for. Because we want to hear your stories and see your faces and hug your neck. Oh, goodness. I see my mom walking back this way. My mom was a gardener whenever I was a girl. Some of my earliest memories were in a garden. She really did a lot of ornamentals, and we always had a house full of house plants. And I specifically remember being a really young child and going with her. She would put in people's like garden beds and businesses and stuff like that, kind of as a side job. And we would go with her. And so the garden itself is something that is, it's pretty familiar to me. It's not something that I had to stumble into. I kind of grew up with my feet in the dirt. However, until like my mid-20s, I was pretty much a self-proclaimed black thumb because I made some mistakes. And so I thought I wasn't good at gardening, and I just kind of accepted that as truth about myself. And so I would go to like garden centers with my mom, and they have that rack in the back with the clearance plants. And my mother was like the hospice for plants. Like they would go to her house, or she would rehab them. She was the rehab for plants. I was the hospice. They would go to my house to die. And so like I was like, I'm a terrible gardener. I kill everything. But then I learned that I needed holes in the bottom of my pots. Like, you know, they don't sell them. What is up with that? Why don't they put those in the bottom of pots that you go buy pots? And so many people tell me, they're like, I kill every plant. I'm like, does it have drainage like that? I always go to the issues that I was making my mistakes whenever I was new at this. And I learned very simple things that I had been messing up on, and I had given up gardening, and I started to think, I wonder who else gave up gardening because they thought they couldn't do it because they messed up once or twice, or in, you know, a case like me, like 100 times. I killed a lot of plants. I still do. I killed plants this year, multiple ones. I've killed multiple plants. I'm very forgetful. And so, like, that's okay though. Guess what? I'm not a bad gardener. And when I started to share on YouTube, I was really kind of embarrassed at how average I was at gardening. And then all these people are like, I love your garden and you're doing such a really good job. And I'm like, really? You really think that? And they're like, yeah, look how awesome this is. I can't grow anything. I'm like, oh, okay, I get this. Well, if I can do it, you can do it. And so since then, I'm experiencing the incredible testimony of seeing people finding joy in the garden because they learned to believe that they could. And so if you're in this room right now, my very first thing that I would like to impress upon you today is that you can garden. You can grow things, and you absolutely 100% should. That's something that I feel confident in saying is a blanket statement. There aren't a lot of blanket statements I'm confident in making because everything is not for everyone. But growing things, I genuinely believe, is for everyone. Amen. So, I think that for those of you who follow our channel, you probably know that I'm a believer. That it kind of seeps out. I don't really know how to separate that. I appreciate you guys coming in and allowing me to speak and be myself in this place. But I don't know how to separate God and the garden. I can't do that. They're two absolutely 100% intertwined for me. Because to me, that's where it started. And I'm literally shaking out of my shoes right now, so I'm going to take them off. That is literally where it started. I'm like, for real, shaking so loud. Guys, this is so crazy. Like, y'all are real. You're real people. You're not just a number.
We love you, Jen. We love you.
Man. Thank you.
So she's gonna take a second because you guys make her have all those good feelings. You know, I've just been talking with a lot of people, so surprisingly enough, you know, Jessica is not the in-person person, she's the camera person, and I'm the in-person person. So like, I get this a lot, meet us, it's like, oh, Jessica, you seem you tired? No, it's because you're here physically. You're saying like the camera buffer is really good. Whereas like, I hate the camera buffer, I'm like, I can't connect with a camera, you know what I'm saying? So in person, I'm like, out there talking, I literally talked to someone until they literally just fell down yesterday. I was just rambling, I was preaching and all kinds of stuff. We were just sharing, they just literally passed out. No, I'm exaggerating. I exaggerate sometimes. But in that thing, God kind of put something on me, and you ever say something like by the unction of God, and you're hearing it for the first time as it comes out of your mouth? That's a fun thing. So I literally said this, and I was like, that's really good, I'm going to remember that. But what if I told you that we grow our garden, and the main reason is nothing to do with eating food? Would you believe me? That's a secondary byproduct. Yes. The purpose of our garden was to establish a resting place and a place to commune with God. Yeah. That's true. Why we do, you know what I'm saying? And I listen, I get it. We've started it, you know, we're not the originators, obviously, but we've definitely made it a lot more popular. Cattle panel trellises, but you don't need 25, 30 cattle panel trellises for a garden. That's just not, that's way beyond functionality. That's an excess. You know, we don't need 10,000 square feet. How many, we did the math once, how many square feet do we actually need for our family?
A week ago, we needed 1,000.
1,000 square feet, but we have 10,000 square feet. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, well, one more garden bed, let's do this, let's do that. And the thing is we started realizing is that this had nothing to do with the extravagance of the garden, the bigness, the pavilion, the window greenhouse, why I poured so much of myself into it. Like, Jessica wasn't lying. At the premiere, I was actually weeping at the table because for me on something like that, it's a spiritual deposit, it's an emotional deposit, it's a physical deposit, like, it's a poured out thing. Like, I poured it out for Jessica because I love her, but honestly, this seems crazy, I guess, but woodworking for me is a worship thing. The garden primary function for us is a worship. Like, we did a video yesterday with a YouTube channel. Their names are Jessica and Jeremiah. What was the name of the channel? Arrow Ridge. Yeah, they have 7 kids. I was like, is this some kind of like alternate dimension? I'm a sci-fi guy. I'm like, is this an alternate dimension or something? Because it's very similar, very cool. But I was just talking to them, you know, it's the primary thing is a worship thing. Like, it's important to us. And so, you know, the secondary function of the garden is for all the food. Like, when you partner with God and see, it wasn't saying in the scripture, you know, seek heaven, and then all these things will be added to you. Well, for us, that's it. Like, we seek heaven for this garden, and the food is added to us. You know, I ask you a question all the time. How important do you think a garden is to God? And people kind of stop, like, well, I don't really know. Well, I mean, he created, his pinnacle of creation is in the garden. So he didn't rest until after man. The pinnacle of his creation is us. And then he did it in a garden. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking like, we can't even fathom stars that well. I mean, we talk about them as if we know what's really going on, but I don't know. Earth's flat, not flat, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, you do you. What Doug and Stacy, Doug just said something to me like, you do you to death. You should. Because if you're doing someone else to death, that's a bad life. Just do you. But I'm saying, like, flat, not flat, stars, all that. But just think of the magnitude of all the creation and all the things we don't understand, but the pinnacle is us. And he did that in the garden. And so for us, from the beginning, the garden matters. It's important. I've never felt more connected to God than in the garden. More so than any church building, and I've done ministry from one side of the spectrum to the other, from one side of the country to the other. God is in the garden, guys. That if you have never connected with God, get in the garden, because he's there. And you may not have words for it, you may not understand it completely, but that's where we find it. That was the purpose of the garden for us. You back?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right. Thank you so much.
So yeah, that's a good place to pick up. I remember one specific time Daniel and I were worshiping, and we sat at the window in my living room, which actually overlooks the garden, and it used to overlook the chicken coop. And I wanted to have a farm for my whole life. It was just like such a dream. And there was a point in our life and our relationship that we couldn't make it happen. There was absolutely no way that we could force the issue. And talking to some of you guys here, I understand that for some of you, this is a deeply burning desire in your heart that you have no idea how to make it happen. And it's this, I'm trying. And sometimes we allow fear to come in, you know, fear that we're going to miss the bus and we're going to miss the train, or we're going to miss the opportunity, or fear that it's never going to happen for us. When it comes to dreams, fear is always lurking to try to take your eyes off the prize, which is that seek first the kingdom and all these things will be added to you. And so this was a dream for us, and so when it came to pass, and we ended up with our home, which we got as a foreclosure, which is what made it possible, and we worked on it for the last few years. For the last 5 years we've been there. Like, I sit at that window, and it's the fulfillment of that dream in front of me whenever I look out at that window. So that is my favorite place to worship, because it's so easy to get in a place in our life that we forget how much fulfillment we've already experienced. And putting your fulfillment in front of you is what allows you and enables you to dream even bigger for the next thing. God doesn't want us to stop dreaming just because he gives us fulfillment. And so we were sitting at that window worshiping, and I looked at Daniel, and of course he's a worship leader and does music, and I said, if some people sing and some people dance and some people paint, do you think that I could garden as worship unto the Lord? And he said, yeah, I don't see why not. And Miah and I talked about it, and we had this crazy big vision for this big beautiful garden, and we set our mind to building this, and it was his worship. That's why our garden looks like it does. That's why it's so extra. It's, yeah, I like pretty things, but it's because that's what it is. And I think that shows. I really do. And so what this all brings me to the topic that whenever I speak at these things, they're like, what's the topic of your talk? I'm like, Lord, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about the joy of growing heirlooms. Oh, you're picking straw off me. Okay. I was like, what do you need to I'm like, let's talk about the joy of growing heirlooms. But the word joy to me is just, it's inexplicably linked to worship, because there's really just no joy outside of that. And the reason why I can link the word joy to talking about seeds is because in growing these, it's worship to me. It was funny, they threw this picture of this Moon and Stars watermelon up here. That's just, years ago, I read a book by Barbara Kingsolver, and it was called Animal Vegetable Miracle, probably 10 years ago. It's actually the book that led me to finding Baker Creek. Yeah, probably close to 10 years ago. And I read it, and in it, this woman, it was talking about growing food, and she was talking about the broken food system, all of these very true things. And she was talking about the real necessity for getting back to heirlooms, but then she began to speak of them and the romance that's involved in them. And she was talking about the stories of heirlooms, and she referenced Moon and Stars watermelon in that book. And I'd never heard of what she was talking about. And she said that she gets misty-eyed looking at the seed catalogs in the spring. And, you know, that this is what gets her through the winter. And as some women would peruse a Tiffany's catalog, she looks at the heirloom seed catalogs. And when I read it, I was like, I need this in my life. And I had attempted growing a garden up until then, of course, but I was the plant hospice. And so I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. And that year, I was like, I'm going to grow a garden, and that's what had led me to read her book, because I was learning about the brokenness of the food system and, you know, just the desperate need for people to begin growing their own food locally, because we cannot continue consuming our earth the way that we are. And so I went outside. I had no equipment. This was before Sweet Miah. I didn't have somebody to help build me a garden at the time. And I went outside, and I had some hand tools. And I cultivated an 8x10 spot in the ground with hand tools. It took me 2 weeks to get the ground ready with hand tools. I was so determined, and I was so sunburned. And I got the ground ready. I went to the local store and bought plants, like, you know, black eggplant and green zucchini and yellow squash and red tomato. That's what they said on the labels. You know, like, I mean, they're just like real basic. And I put them all in, and I mean, at this point, I'm getting pretty salty about how hard this whole gardening thing is. And so, like, I put them all in, and then it rained for 17 days. So half of them died, and the weeds were just rampant, so I pulled all those out. And I worked harder than I've ever worked on anything in my entire life trying to get that food to go. And I will never forget getting my one zucchini before the squash bugs killed everything else. And getting that one zucchini, and that week Kroger put zucchini on sale for 69 cents a pound, and I cursed them. I was like, and I bought them because I had to make dinner, and the one zucchini wasn't enough. So, like, I was like, why do people do this? This is bad. Who would want a garden? And it was shortly after that I found Barbara Kingsolver's book. And she talked about the romance of heirlooms, and she talked about that. And I was like, maybe this is the key. Maybe the key is growing something that won't be 69 cents a pound at the grocery store, making me wish that I hadn't just wasted the last 2 months of my life for $3. You know, like, it's just ridiculous. So I went into my office, and I very, very distinctively remember this moment. I went into my office, and sat down at my computer. And yeah, this was roughly like 2000... I guess, yeah, this has been longer than this has been about 2008 or so, 2009, because it was before we were married. And I Googled heirloom seed catalog, because I wanted whatever it was that she had that had her so excited about the garden, because I did not have it with the red tomato and yellow squash. And so I found Baker Creek, and I ordered my first Baker Creek catalog. And the following year, I spent all my birthday money on seeds. The first year, that was the first year I did that, and then every year after that I did that too. So the first year I did that, and the next year I grew some really interesting tomatoes for the first time, and I began to fall in love with the stories, and I began to really see what the issue was with commercial food growing and how much we stand to lose by letting these stories go away. And I began to see that if somebody didn't start caring about this thing, which I do believe is so very important, that it was going to go away. And that began my journey as an heirloom gardener. And I've said this before, if you are an heirloom gardener, you are a storyteller. Because these stories are going to go away. If you watch my channel, you're probably familiar with Kajari melons, which is a Baker Creek seed that I ended up with a few years ago when they first introduced it in the catalog. My friend Lisa bought a pack and she gave me 5 of them, and it was back when it was still really rare, so you only got like 10 seeds in the pack, and she split it with me. And I grew them all. I was still really learning, and killed all the plants, and I thought I'd ruin my chance. And when I was cleaning them out, I realized that one lone melon had trailed underneath an okra plant and had gotten big. And I was like, yes, I have another chance. And so I took it in and I harvested the seeds. And so I had 5 seeds, and I thought I had ruined my chance. And then I had 500 seeds. And I sent those out to everyone in swaps 2 years ago. I sent those to everyone. And this is where I like to share just how cool God is in my life. He's so extra. And last year, I was flying to the expo to speak for Baker Creek, and I just had this just kind of hunch. I just wanted to read that Animal Vegetable Miracle book again. And I get the book, and I'm on the airplane flying to California to speak at Baker Creek, and I get to that page that had been just so impactful, and all of a sudden I realized how very full circle that moment was. When I remembered reading that page the last time and going and ordering that first seed catalog, and here I was flying on an airplane to California to speak at Baker Creek's Expo. And we get at our hotel and we get there, and I'm just having this total like, whoa, how cool is God moment. And a guy's name's Joseph Simcox, he comes up and he was there also as a speaker, and we met at the lobby. And I looked at him and I was like, I feel like I've read your name before. When you know he's the guy who found the Kajari melon seeds in Punjab. And I was like, hey, and he's like, yeah, we need people like you to get the stuff in the garden. I'm like, you have no idea. Actually, how many people are growing Kajari melons because of a girl in Arkansas geeking out on them on her camera in her garden. So yeah, like these little things, and when you think about the implications of that, when you think about the fact that somebody cared enough to go searching for something, and somebody cared enough to buy it from him and print pictures and call it beautiful and call it worthy and to put it in a catalog, and then somebody cared enough to try really hard and then push a little bit further past failing and try again. And then save those seeds and call them worthy, and then send them out to all these people. I think you're really going to like this one. And then somebody cared enough to build a garden as worship, to display these things in a beautiful way. And then somebody cared enough to say, here, let me share it with these other people, and let me tell the story of this thing that wouldn't have otherwise been told. How many people are growing Kajari melons this year? Look at that. How many seeds is that? 500 seeds in each one of those melons. You're probably going to get 15 or so melons per plant. Do the multiplication of that. Now, I want to talk to you about the fact that the kingdom of God is likened to a seed. Passion for anything is a seed. Passion for anything is a seed. Do you want to know how to inspire other people to have a healthy marriage? Have a healthy marriage in front of them. You want to know how to inspire other people to be good parents? Be patient and kind to your children in front of them. Do you want to know how to inspire people how to be a good friend? Be one. And in the case of the garden, talk about it. Share that it's important. Share the stories. Heirlooms are incredible because they come with stories. But do you know that there are going to be things that come out of our garden, and they might be average things, but we can make average things extraordinary when we call them valuable. You know, the Kajari melon with its seed from Punjab is very interesting. And it is very tasty also, which helps. But I grow some stuff that I don't even want to eat just because I want to see it grow. Because I'm gardening for worship, and sometimes I give space up to things that aren't the most productive. Just because they're interesting. because I want to call things valuable. I want to be the kind of person that puts value on things. I want to be the kind of person that people can find value by being connected to me, by being in conversation with me, by watching my life. And there is an opportunity for each and every person to be the kind of person that carries value for things. That's called being Christ-like. Because there is no other example other than Jesus that carried value for things that might otherwise be called worthless. So my encouragement for you today is, yes, get in the garden. Find the seeds that nobody grows and grow them. Find the seeds that everybody grows, grow those too.
Grow all the seeds.
Grow all the seeds. That is always, yes, that is my message. Grow all the seeds.
Yeah, find all the ground cherries for sure.
But beyond that, be the kind of person that puts value on things. That strikes passion in people's hearts because you're passionate. The world doesn't have enough passion in it, but my goodness, what would it be like if it did? What if we could be ones that burn with passion in such a way because we understand how passionate our God is about us, that we incite that in other people? It's totally doable. Guys,